And we are here. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of the Lopes Goes Last podcast. I, of course, am your host, Tyler Lopes. If you have not subscribed yet, please feel free to do so. Also, hit that bell icon so you never miss any one of my videos. Please like and share so we can help the podcast grow. And follow me on Facebook and on Twitter. That's at Lopes Goes Last podcast on Facebook and at Lopes Goes Last on Twitter. Links to those will be down in the description below. So, this week, back to a little bit more of a normal podcast setting. I'm going to do my very best to get you guys another mock draft before we have the NFL draft next week. However, I do have some family coming in town next week, so no podcast next week. At least not the normal podcast. Like I said, I'm going to do my best to be able to get another mock draft out for you guys at some point late next week, into the weekend, whatever it ends up being, but I will not be doing a normal podcast like I normally do next week. Wanted to give you guys a fair warning because, again, I do have family coming into town, and I don't want to miss any of that. So, let's jump right into our first topic of the day. Let's talk about the Los Angeles Angels. I've talked about the Angels a couple times in this podcast since its inception, and the reason why I'm talking about them here has not changed one bit. They are the same old Angels as they always are. I do not care about the fact that they are first in their division as of time of recording. I do not care about the fact that Shohei Ohtani looks every bit as dominant as he ever has looked. I don't care that Mike Trout seems to be jumping right back where he left off in his former MVP self. I don't care that they're above 500. I just don't care. Now, I know that seems a little bit unfair, but hear me out and hear out what I am going to use to prove my argument. They are the same old Angels. I don't care what you say. What's that old saying? You could put lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig. The Angels are still a pig. And I know that that's, again, harsh, right? You know, maybe this is the year that they have figured it out, but let me kind of walk you through where the Angels are at right now. So they're 7-5 as of time of this recording, and for those of you who go way back in the Wayback Machine, and we can talk about the video, or at least the clip that I made regarding how much I could not stand the Los Angeles Angels, for the reason that most people that can't stand the Los Angeles Angels can't stand them, outside of the people who are fans of the team in their division, or perhaps San Francisco Giants fans, for those of you who remember 2000 and I believe 2 it was when the Angels won the World Series against the Giants. Can't remember what the specific year was, but it was somewhere around there. But anyway, other than those fans, I would say the vast majority of fans who hate the Angels hate them because they are wasting the prime of possibly the two best baseball players to ever walk our planet, and certainly the two best baseball players currently walking this planet. And they have them both on the same team, and they are wasting them away. And it's quite frustrating, and this year it seems to be happening again. Now, I know it's early. It's only been 12 games. And like I said, they're 7-5. That's not bad. They're first in their division. That's great. Or at least tied for first in their division. That's great. That's a good step in the right direction. And if you don't take a good first step, you're never going to get there. You're right. All that is true. However, the stats don't lead me to believe that what they're doing is different or sustainable. I think that they, quite frankly, got worse as a team in the offseason. I thought maybe they made some marginal improvements, but once they lost Noah Syndergaard, that rotation just fell right back into being absurdly mediocre. They don't really have any weapons outside of Shohei Ohtani and Patrick Sandoval, and even Patrick Sandoval has yet to take the big leap that all of us are waiting for. Maybe this year is it. But nonetheless, the ERA of the Angels' starting rotation is not half bad. It's right around 4.5, which is, not great, but it's not atrociously bad either. It's pretty much middle of the pack, which is what you come to expect from the Angels. However, What I leave out of that is the fact that two of their starters in Shohei Ohtani and Patrick Sandoval, as mentioned before, have an ERA of 0.5 and 1.5, respectively. And so the rest of the starters have an ERA of right around 7. Yes, that's right. And if you want to be even more mean and lump Patrick Sandoval into the rest of the starters, outside of Shohei Ohtani, the Los Angeles Angels starting rotation, my apologies, has an ERA of, let's check the stats, 5.56. That's very bad. And again, that number is including Patrick Sandoval and his absolute badness. Or not his absolute badness, but his 1.54 ERA and everybody else's absolute badness. My apologies for the miscommunication there. So, yeah, Angels pitching staff, horrible, as per usual. They don't have anyone outside of Shohei Ohtani and, so far, Patrick Sandoval, that are going to be guys that are consistent. Now, Griffin Canning just came back from the injured list, and he pitched his first game yesterday or the day before, and he did fairly well. So that's, I guess, a little promising. But for the most part, the Angels don't have anyone in their rotation that's making me sit there and think, if I faced them in the playoffs, I'd be terrified outside of Shohei Ohtani. I wouldn't be afraid to face Patrick Sandoval yet. And I'm certainly not afraid to face Jaime Barria or Griffin Canning or whoever else they feel like throwing out there. And now you're sitting there saying, well, Tyler, if their pitching rotation is that bad, their bullpen must be doing okay, right? No, they've got a couple of guys that have ERAs below 1. And again, at the beginning of the season, it's hard to kind of read into all of these statistics too deep, but there's some guys that have 10 ERAs, some guys that have 7, some guys that have 1. So their bullpen is really all over the place. So let's, just because it's the beginning of the year, and let's just be nice, and we'll say that their bullpen is average. Is that fair? I'd say that's fair. So the reason that a below average starting rotation ERA-wise and an average bullpen is above 500 right now is because their offense has been rolling. And it has been fun to watch. Shohei Ohtani's playing great. Mike Trout's playing great. Taylor Ward's playing great. Hunter Renfroe's playing great. Logan O'Happ, their catcher, is playing great. And everyone else is playing very poorly. Very, very, very poorly on the offensive end. I think Anthony Rendon, I know he's been hurt for a decent bit, but I think his batting average is like 120 so far this year. And it's just, it's not good, guys. And, hey, you're saying, hey, look, you just named 5 guys that are hitting really, really well. That's half their lineup, and you're right. However, let's be honest with ourselves. Taylor Ward last year played very, very well. I wouldn't be surprised if he stays that consistent. So you've got 3 guys in your lineup, in Taylor Ward, in Shohei Ohtani, and Mike Trout, that are going to consistently give you quality at-bats, for the most part, every time they come up to the plate, whether they get on base, whether they don't. You can trust that oftentimes they're going to do, they're going to play good baseball, and they're going to hopefully be able to do the right things for your team at the drop of a hat. However, Logan O'Happ and Hunter Renfroe don't give me that much confidence. Now, so far this year, they've been great. Don't get me wrong. But Hunter Renfroe, let's take him as an example. In 12 games, in 45, 50-ish at-bats, he has struck out 6 times. Now, if anybody knows anything about Hunter Renfroe, you know that is nowhere near sustainable. It just isn't. I watched Hunter Renfroe play on the Red Sox for a couple of years, or maybe it was just 1 year. Whatever it was, I've watched him very up close and personal on the Red Sox. He strikes out a lot, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with somebody who strikes out a lot if they bring other things to the table, as Hunter Renfroe does. That's why he has had a job and a very secure job over the last handful of years, even though he's been on a bunch of different teams since then. He always finds another place to play, and he's always in the starting lineup, it seems, because he does a lot of things well offensively. Not striking out is not one of them. So, that's not sustainable. And full admission, full disclosure, I don't know really anything about Logan O'Hat. I don't. Don't know where he's from. Don't know how old he is. Don't really know how long he's been in the Angels organization for. But I will say this. As a catcher in the major leagues, a .295 batting average and leading your team in home runs, unless your name is Salvador Perez and you're playing for the Kansas City Royals, it's probably not sustainable either. So, I'm not saying that either of those guys are going to completely fall off a cliff. What I am saying is that right now, a team that is 7-5 is being carried by an offense that outside of 2, maybe 3 guys, if you include Taylor Ward in there, are not going to be consistently reliable for you. Not Luis Rengifo or David Fletcher or any of these other pretenders that are sitting in the Angels lineup. And yes, I'm throwing you too in there, $290 million man Anthony Rendon. Throwing you in there too. None of these guys have given me any reason for me to believe that what is happening is going to continue to happen. None of those guys give me any confidence that they're going to turn it around and that they're going to be a positive force for this team, at least offensively. And none of the pitchers in that rotation, outside of Patrick Sandoval and Shohei Ohtani, of course, make me feel like they are going to make a positive difference. So to me, the Angels are exactly the same as they always have been. And you're not fooling me this year, LA. You fooled me last year at one point. You did. You had me. You guys were like 10 or 12 games above 500. You guys were really killing it. And then you lost 1,000 games in a row. You ended up in 3rd or 4th place again. You ended up 6 games below 500 again. That's what's going to happen this year, guys. I hate to break it to you, but unfortunately, it is. Let's transition to some NBA basketball. What I'm going to do is I'm going to probably flip-flop back and forth today between MLB stuff and NBA stuff. And what I want to do here is talk about the Dallas Mavericks. I know, I talked about them a couple of weeks ago, and I said that they were kind of disappointing. Well, they missed the playoffs altogether. They didn't even make the play-in tournament, guys. You want to talk about a disappointment? That fan base must be heartbroken right now. Because listen, when they made the Kyrie Irving trade, they were, I think, the 5 seed, 6 seed in the West. And it's not like, I mean, yeah, the West was good. But the 6 seed, you ended up, I think the Warriors were the 6 seed. So I would say you're probably, you know what, you have to win 44, 45 games to keep up with that, I think. I think they ended up with 44 or 45 wins. So even if you ended up with 43, you're still probably going to make it, or at least make the play-in tournament. So you're talking about a complete and utter collapse by the Dallas Mavericks. And it sucks. And now, stories have come out that have said that Kyrie Irving didn't even take an exit interview with the Dallas Mavericks. He refused to even, have basically the end of year meeting with the GM, the end of year one-on-one meeting. He didn't have one. Now, I don't know how incredibly reliable that story is. It might not be true. But let's be honest, guys. Would you be surprised if it was? Of course you wouldn't. It's Kyrie Irving. If he doesn't get everything exactly perfect that he wants, he's not going to stay in Dallas. And now, if you're Dallas, you gave up Spencer Dinwiddie, draft picks, and some role players, which, again, they weren't the best players in the world, but you gave up some reasonably important pieces on your team to get a guy who might end up being a 2-month rental for you? And you gave up part of your future. Now Luka might not be happy. It's just one of those things where you look back and you go, man, what a catastrophe. And I feel sorry for the Mavericks because I understand why they did it. When I graded the trade, fairly certain I gave it an A- or an A because I get it. Kyrie Irving is a phenomenal basketball player when he's on the court. And I will give Kyrie Irving credit where credit is due. Other than, maybe towards the beginning when he was doing press conferences and all that and, was just talking some stuff. He didn't really make much trouble. I didn't hear anything bad come out of the Dallas camp about Kyrie Irving. I didn't hear him talking smack about teammates or being a bad teammate or getting in fights or leaving the team or doing anything dumb on social media. I didn't hear any of that, which is great because that means that Dallas at least got to avoid a whole bunch of drama with Kyrie this season while they had him, which again, credit to Kyrie. I will give credit where credit is due 100 days out of 100. So, unfortunately, now we have to look at this as a trade where you traded for a superstar point guard or a borderline superstar point guard, depending on your opinion. I think he's probably a superstar, as much as I don't want to admit it. Any team that has Kyrie Irving on their team on the floor without all that drama, you're a little bit afraid of them, honestly. So, Kyrie got traded from the Nets to the Mavs. And you have to look at it at face value now. The Mavs traded for Kyrie Irving and missed the postseason, despite the fact that they were in the hunt for the postseason. The New York Nets, good grief. Sorry about that. The Brooklyn Nets traded away Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant and basically stayed right where they were. I think they might have been a top 4 seed in the East when they traded Kyrie and Kevin Durant, and they ended up with the 6th seed. And honestly, the middle of the East is a pretty close race with New York and with Cleveland and with obviously Brooklyn. So it wasn't super shocking to me to see a little bit of a slip. But New York, I did it again. Sorry about that, guys. Brooklyn made the playoffs by trading away their 2 stars. And yes, Phoenix is, I think, the 4 seed in the playoffs. But now they're fully healthy, and they haven't really played much together. And when they have, they've been dominant in terms of that starting lineup. But the other team that traded for a superstar, or borderline superstar, whatever you want to say, didn't even make the playoffs. That's tough. That is a tough pill to swallow if you are Dallas. And if you're Dallas fans, I mean, you've got to be worried, right? You've got to be at the point where you're afraid Luka's going to walk out the door. And I don't blame you. I think Luka might walk out the door. I don't think it's going to be this offseason. Probably won't even be next offseason either. But I think at some point, if the front office of the Dallas Mavericks don't figure out a way to get Luka Doncic some actual help and have it work, it's going to be Luka or it's going to be them. And I don't feel great about Luka's chance of staying in Dallas if that's the call that has to be made. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, this is all completely speculatory on my part. There's no ground of this. There's no, Luka demands a trade or anything. That's not the case. There's some rumblings that Luka is a little unhappy and he might want to trade. But he's come out in interviews saying he's happy in Dallas, and I'm inclined to believe him. But what I'm not inclined to believe is that the Mavericks, if they keep doing what they've been doing, that Luka's going to stick around forever. I do not believe that at all. I think they've got to figure something out. Now, look, they tried. I get it. They tried. They tried to trade for Kyrie Irving. They tried to get him some help. They did what people have asked for, and it didn't work. But that doesn't mean that you can't stop trying, or that doesn't mean that you have to stop trying. You can't stop trying. You have to keep going. You have to find some other way. And I'd love Bradley Beal on the Mavericks. I think that'd be a really good fit next to Luka. I think that if you let Luka handle the ball and you let Bradley Beal kind of be that really high number 2 that can just get buckets and buckets and buckets and put up 25, 30 points a night while Luka distributes the ball, and you keep Christian Wood around, I think that team could be really good. Now, that team defensively doesn't sound particularly fun, but you know what? Bradley Beal's not the only option you have. There's plenty of others, but there's got to be something that needs to be done. The Mavericks can't stay where they are. The Mavericks can't keep doing the same thing they've been doing every year, or Luka will not stick around to find out what their future's going to be. Let's talk about a division rival for the Boston Red Sox. No, I'm not talking about the Yankees, because why would I care? I'm talking about the team that right now cannot stop winning. The Tampa Bay Rays. I think the series is over between the Red Sox and the Rays. I don't think they're playing the rest of the week. I'm pretty sure the Rays and the Red Sox are both moving on. Fairly certain the Red Sox are playing the Angels this weekend, ironically, because I just talked about them a little bit ago. But either way, the Rays are 13-0 as of time of recording, and they just got done sweeping my Red Sox right off their feet and right back out the door. And it's really, really fun watching the Rays right now. And certainly for Rays fans, it's got to be a really, really good feeling. And interestingly enough, I wonder if at this point Rays fans are a little bit used to the success that they're having. Not necessarily this successful. I mean, literally no team in the wild card era has ever been this successful to open up a season, or maybe one other has. Maybe they've tied the record. They've either tied the record or broken the record for most wins to start the year. Think 13-0 is tying the record, if I remember correctly. But either way, very few teams have been as successful to open up a season as the Rays. But I wonder if they're getting a little bit used to being this successful, which is so interesting considering where they came from. You know, the Rays, again, for those of you who don't really know much about baseball, they are one of the smaller, if not the literal smallest budget teams in baseball. I don't think they're the smallest. I feel like Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Kansas City, Oakland, they're probably ahead of all those teams, but either way, they are definitely a bottom of the league team in terms of financial excess and all that stuff. They don't have a ton of money. That's the point. They don't have a ton of money to spend on players. The largest free agent contract they ever gave out was this season, and it was $43 million. If that tells you anything, with teams signing Bryce Harper for $390 million and Xander Bogaerts for $300 and Trey Turner for $300 and Aaron Judge for whatever his was, $350, $360, whatever it was, and the Rays' biggest contract ever that was not given to a homegrown talent as a contract extension was, of course, $43 million or $48 million, whatever it was, to Zach Eflin this offseason. And their biggest contract they've ever given out was to Wander Franco, the Wonder Kid. And I don't even know how much it is, but I think it's like 210, 190, something like that. I mean, it's not even, barely half of another team. And the Rays hadn't even come close to signing anybody for that much money other than the last couple of years. So, again, good for the Rays for spending some money, but it's just been so much fun to watch. And the Rays are doing it in the way that the Rays always do it, with fantastic pitching, getting the most out of every player on their roster, no matter where they come from or how much quote-unquote talent they have. And obviously, like I said, their bullpen's been dominant, just like it is every year. Their starting rotation has been great so far this season. Shane McClanahan, one of my favorite players in baseball. He's one of my favorites to win Cy Young this year. I don't think he's going to. I hope he does, out of the guy I picked, who was Garrett Cole. I hope Shano wins. But We'll see how that happens. And then their offense has been the best in baseball statistically so far this year, which is a surprise to me because I don't feel like the Rays really ever upgrade their lineup. I feel like they just basically trot the same 6 or 7 guys out there every year and then replace 3 with basically the same mold of player, a guy that can play multiple positions, or a guy that's got a really good glove but doesn't really hit well, or a guy that no one's heard of, or all 3. It just depends on how you slice it. So, yeah, I mean, the Rays are really just dominating this year, and even as a Red Sox fan, it's fun to watch. The Rays are one of those organizations where you sit there and you think, man, they are what's right about the game of baseball. They're playing the game right. They're coaching it right. They're just doing everything that they can possibly do right in these scenarios. So good for the Rays. I certainly don't hope they go 162-0 because that wouldn't be fun. But I certainly hope that their success continues because, let's be honest, none of us want to see the Yankees win the division, and the Blue Jays don't have a chance at this point. So I am going to say I hope the Rays win the division, and I hope the Red Sox don't come in last. That's pretty much where I'm at. All right, everyone. Last thing that I want to talk about this week, I'm going to give you the 2 NBA playoff series that I am most looking forward to watching, other than, of course, the Celtics. I'm a Celtics fan. Of course, I'm most excited to watch the Celtics series, you crazy people. But other than that series, here are the 2 series that I am looking forward to watching the most, and why. Both of which are in the Western Conference, because let's be honest, the Eastern Conference, who cares? Everybody stinks except for the top 3 or 4 teams. I mean, let's just be honest with ourselves. This is not going to be a fun time watching the East playoffs. I don't anticipate really any upsets in the playoffs this year, although now that I'm saying that, the Celtics are probably going to get swept in the first round, and Trae Young's going to average 88 points a game, and DeAndre Hunter is going to lock up Jason Tatum, and Jason Tatum's going to average 6 points a night and 2 assists, and Derek White's going to be our leading scorer with 9.4 points per game, and Malcolm Brogdon, Al Horford, Rob Williams, and Jaylen Brown are all going to have their knees chopped off by a psycho serial killer with a chainsaw. Sorry, I got a little too deep in there. Anyway, other than the Celtics series, here are the 2 series that I am looking forward to watching the most in this NBA playoffs. First up's going to be Lakers-Grizzlies. Why? Because I genuinely believe that the Lakers have not the best chance at an upset. That's going to come later on in the playoffs. However, I do think that the Lakers have a really good chance at upsetting the Grizzlies in the first round of the playoffs. Why, you might ask? Well, I think it's pretty simple. Because they have LeBron James and Anthony Davis. That's really all the reasons I need, but I'm going to give you more because I'm sure you guys are wanting more reasons than that. D'Angelo Russell and Ja Morant are both very good young point guards. Ja Morant, clearly the better of the 2. However, when you've got a guy who's just a pure shot maker as D'Angelo Russell, he's going to make Ja Morant have to work on the defensive end. Not with D'Angelo Russell on the defensive end. He's basically a revolving door. But with Ja Morant on the defensive end, Ja's going to have to work. And he's going to have to put a lot of energy into guarding D'Lo, or D'Lo has the ability to put up 40 a night on you at the drop of a hat, or at the very least 30 to 35 if you don't want to give him 40 a night. So, unless you want somebody other than LeBron James on a LeBron James-led team, and other than Anthony Davis averaging 30 points a night, Ja Morant's going to have to figure out a way to lock him down. Now, they might put Dylan Brooks or somebody else on D'Angelo Russell and try and hide Ja on the defensive end, and that's fine, I get it. But you still have LeBron, you still have Anthony Davis. It's not going to be a walk in the park for the Grizzlies. Jaren Jackson Jr. in the running for Defensive Player of the Year, certainly. Anthony Davis is the better player when healthy. There's not really a dispute on that. Trying to remember who the heck is the starting 3 for the Grizzlies right now. But does it matter when you're facing LeBron? It really doesn't unless your name is Giannis or KD or somebody that might be able to match up with Kevin Durant. Or with LeBron James, excuse me. So, you still got LeBron. You still got AD. You got D'Angelo Russell. You've got a whole bunch of other pieces on that roster right now. I don't know, guys. I think the Lakers have a really, really good chance of upsetting the Grizzlies. I have not loved the Grizzlies team all season. I understand that they are pretty good. And also, I will say this. If Steven Adams is back, it's a different story. I think the Lakers have a significantly smaller chance of moving on if Steven Adams is back. It's not because he's a big offensive threat, but he is a guy that you can throw his body at Anthony Davis and actually have a chance of wearing him down. And you still have Jaren Jackson Jr., who I'm certain can, at least size-wise and physical-wise, match up with Anthony Davis on occasion, if not for the entirety of a series. So you got now two guys that can match up with Anthony Davis and really do some damage. So, that's a different story, I think, if Steven Adams is out there, and he might very well be. And if that's the case, then, you know what? We'll see how it goes. I do still think the Lakers have a chance of upsetting, but I think that out of all of the series in the playoffs this year, the Los Angeles Lakers have the second best chance of having an upset, or of causing an upset in the playoffs. The team with the number one chance, as far as I'm concerned, as to who is going to make an upset happen is, who do you think, guys? It's the Golden State Warriors. Of course, it was always going to be. I said that they were going to repeat this year. I want to change my story because I want it to be the Celtics, but until I'm proven otherwise, that's the story. The Golden State Warriors, it doesn't matter what seed they come in. It doesn't matter. They are still the Warriors, and now they have Andrew Wiggins back. They're fully healthy. The younger guys got some more experience. I'm pretty sure Moses Moody dropped like 30 points the other day, and I haven't even really seen him play all that much. Never mind drop 30 on a random game. So the Warriors now at full strength, they can take down anybody. And again, another team that I have not loved all year are the Kings. They've played really well. They have a really good offense. But you're going to tell me De'Aaron Fox isn't going to be completely ran out to death by Steph Curry in the postseason? Perfect. In the postseason, I see what I did there? I wanted to say playoffs, but I ended up saying the postseason, and so I combined it into postseason. I don't know what postseason is, but apparently the Warriors are going to be there, so you guys might want to buy your tickets while you have the chance. So postseason, you're telling me that De'Aaron Fox is going to do anything to stop Steph Curry in the postseason? I almost did it again. Of course he's not going to. He's going to be run ragged by Steph Curry. Steph Curry's going to be Steph Curry. And Andrew Wiggins and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green and all the other guys, Jordan Poole, they're going to be the Warriors. And the Warriors have played fantastic in the second half of the season. Now they're fully healthy. They made it out. They didn't even make the play-in tournament. They're completely out of the play-in tournament. They are the 6th seed, which I know is a huge boost for them. And Sacramento, to me, Domantas Sabonis, he's been fine. De'Aaron Fox has played really well this year. They just don't have enough, as far as I'm concerned, to beat the Warriors. Now, I hope I'm proven wrong, because if the Warriors lose in the first round in the West, I'm going to feel a heck of a lot better as a Celtics fan, because if I have to see the Warriors again in the finals, I'm going to have that much confidence that we're going to win. Because Steph Curry is just going to do what he did last year. He's going to put up 45 points a night. We're going to lock down everybody else, and it's not going to matter. So, as far as I'm concerned, not that I think if the Warriors don't make it out of the West, that the Celtics are guaranteed to win a championship. They're certainly not. They could lose to Philly. They could lose to Milwaukee. They could lose to Denver. They could lose to Phoenix. There's plenty of teams that I'm scared of. There is no team that I am more scared of outside of maybe Milwaukee than I am of the Golden State Warriors. I don't care what their seed says, and I don't care what their record says. They were without Steph Curry for like 30 games this year. They were without Andrew Wiggins for almost their whole season, as far as I can remember. Klay Thompson was still working his way back from catastrophic injuries. And they had spats all throughout the year with Jordan Poole and Draymond Green and just a whole bunch of stuff going on. So, I don't care what their record says. I care about the fact that they are the Golden State Warriors, and the same players are still there that have dominated the NBA over the last decade. And until they are stopped in their tracks, and until I see with my own eyes the Boston Celtics beating them in the finals, or somebody else beating them to get to the finals, I'm not going to sleep very well at night. Because even if we make it out of the East, if we got to play the Warriors, I'm not going to feel good about it. And I don't think many Celtics fans will. Now, this year's team's a little different than last year. We have some more weapons. Sure. I don't care. I thought we were a better team than the Warriors last year, and it didn't matter. We might be a better team than the Warriors this year, but it's not going to matter. And if any other team that plays the Warriors says we're the better team, you've already lost. Because if you do say that, if you don't give the Warriors the respect that they deserve, they're going to run everybody over again. They're going to make the finals again. They're going to win the finals again. And we're all going to be talking about how stupid we were saying the Warriors were going to win no more finals. Now, guess what? I'm not somebody who said that. But Stephen A. Smith said it. Kendrick Perkins said it. A whole bunch of analysts said that the Warriors are never going to win another championship. And I don't understand how people can be that stupid at this point when they've won 4 out of the last 8. And after last year, when everyone said they weren't going to win another one, they still won another one, and people are still saying it. What are we doing? I will not sit here and believe that the Warriors are done until their team is blown up, until Klay's gone, until Steph's gone, until Draymond's gone. Even when Draymond's gone, he's probably gone after this year. Even when Draymond's gone, I still might not feel great about it because, let's be honest, he didn't really play that much of a factor in the finals outside of some defensive plays and some anger-inducing moments. That's about it. So the Warriors, yeah, they've got the best chance of upsetting the Kings in the playoffs. They've got the best chance of upsetting a team, as far as I'm concerned, as to any series, whether it's a 4 versus a 5 or a 1 versus a 8 or a 2 versus 7, doesn't matter to me. The Warriors facing the Kings. I don't think the Kings win 2 games. I think the Warriors win in 5. I'm sticking to it until I'm proven otherwise. Again, part of me hopes it doesn't happen, but let's be honest. It's probably going to. Well, all right, guys, that is it for me this week. I appreciate all of you watching. Thank you so very much, and I will see you next time.
Hey, guys, me again. I just want to say thank you so much for checking out the Lopes Goes Last podcast. It means the world to me that you decided to stick all the way to the end. That's super cool. So thank you again. And if you really, really like what you see, I'd love for you to subscribe, like the video, and share it with all your family and friends because, you know, this is my passion project. This is what I love to do, and I really want the sucker to grow. And the only way that that can happen is through you guys, is if you guys can help me out. So again, if you like what you saw, please subscribe, like the video, share with all your friends and family. That's the only way this is going to grow. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.